we do it, yeah.
What's up, Hans family? Welcome to Hansween, which, is 31 tutorials in the month of October, meaning a new video every day. Woo! Yesterday I showed you how to make this homemade gore mask, and today is coupled with a do-it-yourself aged bone mask worn by my lovely husband Daniel. These will be our costumes this year, so you could make these as a badass as fuck couple's costume if you'd like. Each mask with materials is made for under $20, so it won't break the bank either. Make sure to check out the video before if you haven't seen it, and if you want to learn how to make this shit, let's do it. Beginning with the mask, I'm using Model Magic just as the video yesterday. You can mold straight on top of the mask or use glue to adhere it, but I suggest using glue to adhere it just so it stays in place. I wanted really exaggerated bone pieces for this, so I'm starting by making a large furrowed brow. Blend the edges down with your fingers and make a large mound right above the eye. Since we were making this look aged and cracked as fuck, use a sharp-edged spatula to push in some veiny style pattern for a broken effect. I made lots of little lines going across the clay and chose a main focal point to have a huge ass open crack. If you're unsure where to add the line work, check a reference picture. Add a ton of texture, dot around the piece, and even add some little thin lines using a light application. Continue to build up from the original area that you started with and exaggerate whatever features you want. You could add whichever bones you want. To me, what makes a skull is that large sunken-in eye and the popping out cheekbone. Connect all of these pieces together, but by making some overlap others, you will give a cool kind of grown over look. Just like before, I chose one main area to add a large broken line into and really added in some texture. Word of the day, texture. When bones age, they start to splinter, so we really want it to look splintered and open around all the little edges. When Daniel told me what he wanted for this mask, he said he wanted some kick-ass teeth on the bottom, so with that said, I make a little mandible and added teeth. Use glue here for sure to assure that the teeth stay in place. Push down a line in between each tooth also to show where the root of the teeth stick into. And now saying that, skulls don't have gums, so if you wanted this actually realistic, give the teeth some points instead of a rounded edge like mine. With the nose, I kept with a signature skull shape, making the ridges pop forward while keeping the nose hole empty. Push down the edges again and add some lining, making sure that the ridge is all broken apart, because again, we want this to look very distressed. For the side of the brow / forehead, I used my sharp edge to cut out a broken piece of the skull. Since the nose will be empty, I want to bring in the dark browns and blacks that I will put there in the skull into somewhere else. I didn't want just the hole to be the only open spot. Cut out some smaller pieces around that first original large piece to show it's a bit more shattered. Maybe someone killed this skull by shattering them right in the forehead. It's a pretty brutal way to die, man. I didn't know how I was going to fill this portion up. Daniel was like, use some vertebrae, and they seem to fit right in. These are not realistic by any means, but you get the idea. Carve out where you want each one, and pinch the clay upwards towards the middle for the spine. Then just make sure that each piece looks separate from the other, pushing your spatula in between each separate vertebrae. These are the acrylics I used to paint both masks. They are cheap as fuck from any of your local craft stores. I believe I got mine for 52 cents each. They also sell little packs with a bunch of them. White bones, they're lame and definitely too bright for my liking, so I'm watering down some ivory paint and put a wash all over the mask. Like I said in the last tutorial, acrylic paints are great because you can water them down so they're not just straight up paint. Darken the areas that would have shadow with a little bit of tan paint, still using a considerable amount of water to blend everything together. You want to intensify this under the grown over looking pieces and by any parts of the face that recede inwards, just like the sunken in eye hole right by where the nose hole goes deeper into the face. Know what I mean? Use some brown paint to fill in the nose hole and hole in the forehead. You may have to layer it a bit for a really opaque base. This mask is fun as fuck and pretty different than the other one because you can let the paint and the carving that you already did do most of the work for you. If you water down the paint and just let the lines carry the paint, it'll give a really realistic effect and look like that color is just coming from the inside, and it's also super easy. The bone marrow is also one of my favorite parts of this look because these holes just suck in the paint in all the right ways. I used what my mama gave me and utilized my fingers too because dabbing the paint a little bit while it's wet makes it look extra grungy. Keep layering as you go around the mask, adding in dark brown and black around the perimeter of it and in the deepest crevices. The ridge of the skull would cast a shadow downwards in these holes, so I just messily added in some black paint, still using the water and the clay to my advantage for the paint job. Don't forget to also darken around the entire edges of the actual mask if they don't have model magic on them. With a very light paint, but not quite white, highlight the high points of the mask and the ridges that would protrude forward, pretty much anywhere where a dark shadow is nearby, like these holes. Let that dry completely and then coat with either a clear nail polish or a proper resin so it stays glossy and sealed. Onto the makeup, I started by blacking out the eye that's covered in the mask with some black body paint. If you're wearing this out for Halloween, opt for some waterproof gel liner, especially if you're not used to things around your eyes. Daniel hated this so much, as you can see, by his poor little watery eyes and probably the look on his face, so maybe prepare your significant other with a trial run beforehand if they hate shit by their eyes with a passion in their soul, like Daddy Dan. Set that and matte out the shininess with some black eyeshadow. With a larger fluffy brush and some brown contour powder, start contouring out the cheekbones for a gaunt look. I had him blow you guys a little kiss to see exactly where I should drag the color down because everyone's face is different. You always want to contour according to their own features. We'll do any makeup to their own features for that matter, not just contour, come on. I mainly blend in patting motions, keeping the color focused right under the cheekbones and blending lightly to give a more curved appearance. Add black to the very back of the cheekbones and blend. Added a little bit around the temples and jaw too so that his face would be beat. Giving him some sexy eye bags with that same brown, which you can tell he was so totally into. It's almost dark. Darken with black towards the sides and blend with a fluffy brush all over. Our mask is textured out the dick hole, so I brought in that element with a stipple sponge and some black and brown paint. The mask is larger on one side, so I kept that side heavier with the color. Figure out where the mask is going to sit on the face well, meaning what part contacts with your skin nicely, and add Prozade. This will hold your mask up extra well when you put it on and tied with the strings. The strings do hold it up. These masks aren't too heavy because the Model Magic is so lightweight, but it's always good to have just a little bit of extra security. With the black and brown eyeshadow, just shade under the mask on the face a bit more, throw on your hood and bam! You're a sexy man, or lady, or anything in between, with some carved out features and a creepy aged bone mask growing out of your face. Add with the gore mask to be a fun and cheap couples costume. Thanks to my husband for being so awesome and letting me do this to him. He looks fucking sweet. Give him some love. Please subscribe if you haven't already and use the hashtag Hansween so I can see your looks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.